Due to the volatile and fluid nature of this week's information, we cannot guarantee the validity after this recording on Wednesday, May 22nd. And it's Bluescreen Bronies time. Yes, Bluescreen Bronies time with this week's massive failure or success, depending on how you see it, Xbox One conference. My name's Draco.
I'm D-Pad.
And I'm Crescendo.
Oh my god, Crescendo's alive.
I've been busy, I told you this. It's hard work going through a catalog of games.
It's hard work coming up with excuses, is what it sounds like.
When did you become Draft?
In reality, I've been busy moving house.
Alright, we're going to cover, like I said, the Xbox One conference. We also have a new segment, Pony Game of the Week. And we also have a nice little surprise for those MMO fans at the end of the show here. At the end, we are also going to show our interview with Stephen Andrews, which I had some bad puns in it. Alright guys, let's kick things off here. Xbox hardware reveal was at this conference. I gotta say, they kind of stepped it up there, because the first thing anybody thought was they were going to pull the same thing that PlayStation did and just be completely mysterious about their hardware. It was kind of nice to see that their hardware was actually revealed, and they didn't really go into too much detail, except for that it looks like a VCR.
I actually quite like the look of it, honestly. It's hardly a bad look. I mean, there are much worse consoles out there for it to look like.
Like a Jaguar?
Mm-hmm.
Jaguar? Oh my god. No.
I always thought the 360 was kind of oddly shaped, because it's concave on both sides, so it's kind of hard to place it, horizontally. Because if you put it vertically, you're covering up one of the major vents, which could overheat it and red ring it.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it looks nice. It sounds technically pretty good. With their three, what did they say they had? The 3 different OSs running on the system.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it switches between games, video, whatever have you, at voice command pretty quickly. Like really darn quick. Like I wish my computer was that fast, kind of quick.
Yeah, really, because you're like the whole thing they were shooting for with that was easy transition between video games, television, and the internet. So it's like, watching the basketball game, check my fantasy score. I honestly don't give a crap, but
I've got it. Microsoft have taken note from Back to the Future 2.
Have they now?
Where Marty McFly, the Elder, comes in and turns on all the different TV channels. So he has
oh my god.
I think you're preaching to an audience that's way too young to have watched this movie.
If you haven't watched Back to the Future 2, go do it.
But anyway, it's technically pretty powerful. I mean, it's got an 8-core AMD CPU, which is kind of interesting. It's also got 8 gigabytes of RAM. However, that RAM is DDR3, so it's actually less powerful than that of the PS4 so far. It has a 500 gigabyte pre-installed hard drive that you cannot remove.
See, I hated when they pulled that on the Xbox Slims, because when I used to live back with my parents, I would often switch hard drives with my cousin when I go to his house, or he would come to mine, and it was just really easy to move around profiles without, taking the whole Xbox with you. Plus, there's also, getting bigger hard drives and putting them in. It was such an easy process. I don't get why they didn't keep that.
No, the Slim did. It's a brick. It's a little bit smaller of a hard drive, and it tucks right in. It was easier to take in and out.
It's got a, they say game DVR, but they don't say where, except for on the cloud. I guess either it's being stored at Microsoft servers, I guess, or something. You have external hard drive support, which you can, pull up terabytes of data and throw it on there. Woo! The controller, it kind of looks similar, except it's got a bigger battery pack, and it doesn't have start and select buttons. How am I supposed to use a Konami code?
Well, we do have two buttons that are that could act like start and select, maybe in game or whatever. We don't actually know yet.
They look like the full screen window button, and they also look like a minimize button a little bit. I don't know what's going on there, but all I know is they're not marketing to gamers with this, is what I feel like. It feels like a Google set-top box more than anything. It also feels like a TiVo box more than anything. The thing that gets me is Kinect is a must. If you don't want Kinect connected, you're not playing any games or doing anything because it has to be connected to the Xbox at all times. Why doesn't it just come prefabricated to the Xbox where you can't remove it whatsoever? Then nobody can complain.
Here's how I see it. They had this to basically show off the console to the broadest audience possible because this was a press release. Now, they know they're going to hook their, the gamer fans because, they showed Call of Duty and this, that, and the other, but we haven't seen a whole lot of game-focused content. I feel like hopefully they can come out with that on E3 because as of right now, there's a definite lack. They were more focused on talking about ESPN, for which I don't care about, fantasy sports, which I don't care about, movies and internet, for only I care about very little of those on my game console, but that's neither here nor there.
I will say to their benefit, E3 is the place to show off games. I mean, they could have done a bit more in in showcasing the hardware with some shiny new spiffy games, but yeah, E3 is the place for games.
They showed off 4 games. PlayStation did what? 5, 6, or 7? I can't remember because it's
7, I believe.
They were better at the game department, but here's the problem. Yeah, if E3 is better at showing off games, why not just do what they did for the Xbox One and just put pictures all over Times Square advertising for their system rather than this? Because what they did here was they advertised something and their stocks took a hit.
Game trading stock, it's a bit difficult because games are built up on hype. And also, Microsoft, their stock didn't really take a hit. PlayStation stock went up, GameStop stock went down, but Microsoft is such a huge company that even if the Xbox One fails, it's really not going to have that big of an effect because they've got things like Windows, they've got things like, computers and all this other stuff that they've just got a very broad market for.
Because Windows 8 is doing so well. Oh
people are
God.
buying it. It's not necessarily good, but people are buying it.
They're having to give away a free giant update, though. That's the thing.
You also have to take into account that most new PCs now will come bundled with Windows 8.
It was also released at their conference that there's going to be some fees and services that you're going to have. One, you're going to have an internet connection. You're going to have it always on, whether they say it's always on or not. I say connecting once every day is always on. It's like SimCity saying, "Oh, we're not always on. You just gotta connect once every 20 minutes." It's so stupid. And then the fees are where I don't like it. How much is Xbox Live going to cost us?
Well, if they're gonna bump it again, because that's what they did last time they had a conference.
Xbox Gold has always had a price on it. I mean, it's not going to be anything different. The fees that really bug me are the used game fees, because as confirmed by, I think it was the UK product manager or something for Microsoft, the first time you use a disc in the new console, it will install it to the hard drive and it will flag it as having installed. If you wish to install it on another hard drive, you have to pay an activation fee.
Isn't that like MSRP?
What does that mean monetary-wise? Because if you buy it from a store like GameStop, who was hyping the system up like crazy. Why? Why were they doing that? It's one thing to have a used game fee. It's another thing to have you go buy a used game and then make you pay full price for a brand new game.
Sadly, at this point, we can only speculate on how much the fee will cost, but it's gonna make the used game market take a tumble. That's for sure, for Xbox at least.
Yeah, really.
And then another thing that's making it tumble: indie game devs are basically shit out of luck.
Now we're not real. The Xbox is not really going to be allowing indie game devs to self-publish. Phil Fish came out on Twitter and was talking about how, even before that, indie games were not shooting to go on the Xbox, considering how hard it is to get through the process, and also the target audience is not even close to there.
Indie games will most likely always have a home on the PC, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but indie games are going to go on to the PlayStation now that they basically open arms welcomed them to PlayStation Network. It's going to be one thing to sit there and say, oh, then you're going to have to pay $10,000 to set out a second patch. And it's another thing to say, oh, you're going to have to find a publisher.
As far as indie games go, you're looking at things like, Starbound was an indie game, Minecraft was an indie game, Terraria was an indie game, and those did incredibly well, but those were on PC. Yeah, eventually they moved to consoles after they can get some money together, but, for the most part, that audience is very, very few and far between on, consoles, considering, the Xbox Live indie marketplace was kind of untouched.
It was filled with Avatar games.
Uh-huh. Avatar games and, blatant porn games.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, you want to look at this conference as a whole, what they tried to make it out as, the home entertainment system to run all entertainment systems. And really, to be honest with you, if you're looking at, from a tech point of view, that's a Blu-ray player that can do everything, it's technically awesome. I mean, going between everything smoothly. It can load up videos pretty fast. It can switch to different cable programs really quickly, where LCD TVs can take a while to switch. It's so fluid, I guess you could say, that it's kind of new age, I guess, a bit. But the problem is, I don't want to play fantasy football while watching football. I don't play fantasy football to begin with. I don't want to snap in a wiki page to figure out how to beat a level. I just want to play the game full screen, capture it, and go. Because really, to be honest with you, for someone for people like us who record video games, people don't want to see us looking up Wikipedia articles. They want to see us playing the game, and unfortunately, this is going to be turned into one of those things where it's kind of a half gamer, half family entertainment system, kind of like what they did with the Wii U. The Wii U, okay, it did what it wanted to do because Nintendo thinks that it should be a family system. That means it should do everything under the sun. I kind of appreciate PlayStation a little bit more now.
If you look at it, PlayStation kind of cleaned up their act a little bit with the PS4, because they were what they talk about? They talk about games. They talked about how games connect. They talk about how you can take games with you on their PS Vita, which, they're kind of trying to plug, but whatever. And, they knew their core audience, who they were focused on, because they tried for the whole multimedia center on the PS3, and people bought it because it was a Blu-ray player and it played games. They didn't buy it because it played music, shared pictures, and movies and stuff like that. Yeah, there's Netflix on there, but what doesn't have Netflix these days?
But Xbox is trying to push into the big market now. I mean, in some senses, it may be a fairly smart move on their behalf, because more than just gamers now will be looking at the Xbox and thinking, that actually might be a useful tool for me.
Right. They're just trying to branch out.
They might get more sales from it, you never know. This might be one of Microsoft's smartest moves. But it's not a move that benefits gamers.
A smart move, I can see advertising this like a multimedia center. The problem is, they've had Windows Media Center for a long time. Xbox 360 could connect via that for a long time. It's not the fact that people use the heck out of it that they're doing this. It's one of the least used features of the Xbox, to be honest with you. I mean, people are going to watch videos if they throw in a DVD in there. They're going to watch videos if they're on their computer and they switch them over via thumb drive or whatever. They're going to listen to music. They're going to listen to Last FM. They're not going to throw in CDs and install them to hard drive most of the time like they did with I did with my old Xbox, the original Xbox. There's just not that many people that want to use it as a multimedia center. I could be proven wrong, but most people buy a game system to play games. And if they don't hit the ball out of the park at E3, they are technically done and need to move back into PC.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because I mean, look at the Zune marketplace they were trying to pull. I don't know how many people subscribe to that, but from what I've heard, it was not a very smart move, and it was not very successful because people weren't interested in paying an additional fee for music and movies on their Xbox when they had things like Netflix and iTunes, which have already focused on that market. I mean, heck, iTunes is like music, movies, and games a little bit and kind of focused in, and they know who they're shooting at, which is why they're good, which is why they're doing so well. Microsoft is just testing the waters here, which could prove either good or bad.
I mean, let's take a look at it like this. Let's look at a gamer that's, I guess you could say, technically poor. They're like making ends meet because this is a bad economy to begin with. Now let's say again, Xbox One, okay? And what are they going to need in order to do everything that they showed at their conference? They're going to need a cable subscription, internet and TV. They're going to need a pretty decent sized TV with an HDMI input. They're also going to need space to put their Kinect. They're going to need wireless internet, unless they hardwire it. They're going to need the ability to do this without interruption, because really, to be honest with you, to do this well, to throw your Xbox in as a multimedia center, you're going to need fast connection, you're going to need lagless time, because the one thing most people hate about Comcast in the Indiana area is the TV will green screen because the connection sucks. The internet will drop for random reasons, and if that happens, your game's done, especially if it's like coming up on time for it to connect to the server. Your fantasy football stuff is done. It's not going to update. Everything's just going to depend on an infrastructure that we just don't have in a good 70% of the country. An internet and TV that are cheap. They are powerful enough to get to the home without lag or anything like that. And the only people that can get it are people in big cities or people out in Kansas City with the Google Fiber, and I'm jealous of them.
This is more of a product that's more focused on people in pretty much that outside perimeter of the U.S. where all the major cities are. I mean, people in the heartland are kind of getting the poor end of this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they alone would keep the Xbox 360 afloat, given that all you really need for that is a television and a power supply, considering there's going to be a ton of used games floating out there, and they're all going to be really dirt cheap, considering it's not backwards compatible.
Well, dirt cheap, I don't really see that happening. I see people buying up a bunch of Xbox 360 games because of the backwards compatibility issue. If PlayStation 4 really does what they say they're going to do and make the entire library of all PlayStation games 1 through 3 available for downloading and play, they are going to be the system that revolutionized gaming like the Nintendo did back in 1985.
I don't think it's going to revolutionize gaming, but it's certainly going to give them a leg up over the competition. I mean, being able to download that nostalgia is going to be very appealing for a lot of people, myself included. I mean, I would love to get to play some Ratchet and Clank again.
Yeah, there's a difference between downloading nostalgia, like with the PSN right now, with Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 6, and Wild Arms 2 for me, and a complete difference between that and being able to play any game in the entire library from Crash Bandicoot all the way up to Ratchet and Clank on PS3.
It is a very, very big feature, and one that, if pulled off correctly, I think is going to be very, very... What's the opposite of detrimental?
Beneficial?
Beneficial.
And one that is going to be very, very One that is going to be very, very beneficial.
You're from
Indeed.
England. Use your English. Anyway, okay, so we've got a lackluster conference, really, to be honest. If you're in there for gaming, and if you're following Adam Sussler at all during the conference, he was tweeting quite adamantly that all the applause and all the cheering that you hear from the conference are definitely not coming from the press at all whatsoever.
Interestingly enough, I heard from another tweet. I forget who exactly tweeted it, but it was another one of the people like Adam Sessa, saying that the tweeting was coming from behind them, which is where the Microsoft employees were.
Yeah, I think it was false cheering and false gratification, I guess.
Probably just hype building, hype construction, really.
Hype construction, yeah. It's companies do it all the time. Microsoft won't be the first or the last.
No, God, no.
I mean, from this conference, I gotta ask, so we can hurry us along a little bit. Are you wanting an Xbox One, or are you wanting to see what E3 brings?
I'm definitely going to wait to see what E3 brings, and possibly when it launches. I want to see the development of the whole fee aspect if we end up with having to pay for used games. If that remains, chances are I'm not going to get one.
Yeah, also potential for having to pay for offline use like we would for online use is almost unacceptable, given that, you should have an option where you can, forego those kind of fees. This isn't a cell phone contract. This is a gaming console. That's what bothers me the most. But, I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to purchase one, just given that I don't like to be left out of exclusives or games or entertainment. That's just kind of the person that I am. So I will at some point own a PS4 and an Xbox One. To the degree of which I use either one depends on, how well they can execute, the gaming side of this machine.
It's sad to say at this point, I honestly can foresee myself possibly getting neither. If anything, I will probably get a PlayStation 4, but I'm at the point where I can't really afford new consoles along with my PC. And
yeah, really.
At my heart, I'm a PC gamer.
That's what they should market their stuff towards us. People can't really afford these $400 bricks. They need to try to do what gaming consoles are supposed to do. Game. Cut out all the extraneous bullcrap, and you cut out maybe about $200 worth of stuff.
Maybe not $200 worth, but I will say what consoles have going for them is that you pay $200, $300 for them, and they last you a good 5-6 years until the next iteration comes out. If you can stay with, the original, of course. I mean, I'm sure people still have original Xbox 360s that are still going.
Yeah.
I still have an original Xbox Arcade that's still on its feet somehow.
It comes with the mass production, errors will happen, blah, 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 blah. It happens. But as far as, the Xbox One is concerned, I don't know if I'm going to get it just because I don't need a multimedia center. I don't watch TV as it is. It's hard enough to even get me to watch Big Bang Theory, let alone football. If I want to watch a movie, I go watch a movie in a movie theater with other people. I don't watch it in my house with Netflix. If I have a movie I want other people to watch, I have the DVD or the Blu-ray. And I let other people watch it via my DVD player or my Blu-ray player. I don't need a Blu-ray player. I want a gaming console. And if they would just cut that out and make a gaming console, it could easily be a $250 console and it'd be much cheaper, much more manageable for players to actually afford that. And if they cut out these extra fees bullcrap from sales that they're not going to get anyway, I'll tell you right now, it's stupid. We had this conversation, I think it was a couple days ago. Company's been trying to get rid of this crap to begin with. Publishers don't like the Kindle because it gets rid of the paper manufacturers who they have partnerships with. Game companies don't like GameStop because they make money on games that they normally never made money on to begin with. I mean, remember before GameStop? What did we do? We traded games with our buddies. Did the game companies make any money off that? No, they never did. It was so easy back then to just give your friend a game, get a game from him, or to sell your friend a game for $10 and buy one from him for $10. And you don't have to plug it in. I mean, imagine if you plugged in Mega Man X you bought off your friend from Capcom and you put it into your SNES and it tells you to buy it for $40. I would literally take it back to my friend and say, I don't want it. You keep the $10, don't want it.
I mean, you can still trade, in this current generation, you can still trade. I mean, I still have a whole bunch of rackets with my friends where we all buy like one Assassin's Creed and then just kind of trade it off after we beat it. I mean, saves money, we still get the game, and if we really enjoy it, maybe we buy the DLC. I mean, boom, that just goes right into Ubisoft's pocket because, we're paying for it digitally, and that's fine. But expecting somebody to pay for a used game, which they've already paid for once, and then expecting another sum of money because it's, used merchandise is just kind of ludicrous.
There's also the fact with used games, you're taking basically a risk on the quality of the game. I mean, game shops tend to try and do their best to stop scratch to hell games discs getting into the store, but it still happens. For instance, I've had to buy Oblivion for the Xbox 3 times now. Worth it.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
I could see this either one bankrupting game stores like GameStop or Games over in England. I can see this bankrupting them, or I can see this bankrupting the Xbox One, because really, to be honest with you, anybody that says, "Oh, well, you bought this game from GameStop," okay, fine, it's going to be $30. I already just paid $30. You want $60 total for me? Really? I might as well just buy the new game. Oh, well, the new game's $65. Digital download. Have fun. Okay. Oh, I might as well buy the digital download. Why? Because it will be easier in the long run. It's easier. I don't have to leave my house. I don't have to go down there and find this game used anywhere. I can just download it and be done with it because I'm going to be paying the money anyway. This is going to get rid of profit from GameStop. I don't understand why they're hyping the system up at this point because of this.
Because they're in the game industry, they have to hype it. I mean, if they can't get money from selling used games, they can at the very least get money from selling, merchandise, because that's how it works. I mean, they don't lose money by selling you video games.
I mean, it's a conversation that a lot of gamers are going to have with themselves, their pocketbook, and depending on their age, with their parents, because this is an investment that's going to have to deal with either you buying games at a store and paying an offline fee, possibly, or and a used game fee, or purchasing it all download only, which means someone's credit card is going to be on that, which means it could get abused. It's going to be a problem. I can see multiple problems coming out of this. I can see the gaming industry kind of shifting away from all this crap back to the simple consoles of play games and go. I could see a whole service needed. Really, to be honest with you, I kind of agree with Draft. We had this conversation a little bit earlier. I could see Google making a console just to play games, because all these consoles are turning into an everything player that you don't need.
Well, you know what? We're just going to have to wait it out till E3 to get more details. We still don't have all the information. So, wild speculation is really not going to help us here. We've given down what we do know. And, it has been a rocky start. But you know what? I personally think that maybe Xbox can pull this around.
They have ample time to at this point, but if they continue down this path, I don't see it. Lastly, on the Xbox, adding to my point, if they continue down this path, the Xbox will become the Xbox.
Oh my
Yes.
God. The Xbox will become your ex? Is that what you're trying to say? Because they did say you're going to have a relationship with it.
Nah, it's just going to turn into some super conglomerate that only sucks money out of us. It's just going to have a dollar slot, not even a disc slot.
On to our pony game of the week, Twilight Sparkle's Epic Adventure. This game, it's kind of like it's a side scroller. It's kind of like a Mega Man style shooter.
A little bit. You kind of swap out your weapons. It's a little bit of platforming. Enemies, fire projectiles. You can jump over them. You can avoid them by moving side to side. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a Castlevania feel to it.
A little bit, except for the fact that you can barely dodge. You jump like you're on the moon, and you run like there's no such thing as momentum.
Little bit, but I mean, this is only, version 1.01. It's the creator themselves say it's open for critique. Personally, I see there's potential in it. I kind of like it. Maybe there's a few flaws in it. I mean, but still, it's a nice start, and I could see if they put some work into it, it could be a very satisfying game.
It can be. The problem is they're going to have to back away from the character a little bit more because it's way too close. They're going to have to change projectiles and timing on the projectiles. They're going to have to change the enemies where they're located, because right now you can barely dodge if you jump. If you don't jump at the exact right time, you are not going to dodge. You can't duck. You can't slide. All you can do is jump and run. And it's okay for something like Mega Man where they actually predict projectiles and everything like that. It's just going to be one of those things where it's going to have a lot of work. It's going to have to be changed. I don't want to say a lot, but it's going to have to change to where the movement and the gameplay is key more than just it being Pony.
I like it. I really do. I like the way that, there's the floating book there where the projectiles originate from. You've got 3 different varieties. You've got like a scatter shot, a laser, and an arcing fireball. And, there's 2 movement speeds, which I thought was a nice touch. There's a wall slide function. Navigating the map was a little tricky. I felt it was a little bit claustrophobic, like you said. But I enjoyed it. I really did.
It definitely has potential, but honestly, as it stands, it's a bit too clunky for my liking.
The one thing I don't like is that a lot of these game creators use the desktop ponies for their sprites, and I kind of understand why it's a little bit easier. It's too simple for someone to just use other people's work, like the desktop ponies, in their game. While it does look like a game sprite, it just feels like it could have done better with its own animations, because then it could have been timed better rather than having to use something that wasn't timed right for the game. Alright, for you MMO nuts out there, or RPG nuts, or multiplayer nuts, whatever have you, we got WildStar by Carbine Studios being produced. It's being published by NCSoft, a notorious Korean MMO RPG developer. It's interesting, to say the least. It's very funny. It's Ratchet and Clank style, in my opinion.
A little bit.
And really, I kind of want to get into this beta right now.
I do too. Now the nice thing that they show off in the
hey D-pad, I got a little interjection here. How about instead of explain it, how about we let them watch?
Fair enough.
And just so you guys know, before you guys see this video, we have an interview with Stephen Andrews from My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. He's the orchestrator. This was recorded a little while ago, probably about a month ago, so it's a little dated. Give it a listen. Stephen Andrews, amazing guy. I don't know, we had fun, didn't we, Crescendo?
Yep.
That's all you get? Really? That's all? That's all? God, Viral has more things to say.
I wasn't invited. Niche.
Anyway, enjoy WildStar, and afterwards enjoy Stephen Andrews. If you want to, reach us on Twitter at Bluescreen Bronies, or at Draco BSB, at Crescendo EFN, at D-Pad Pony, or at Viral87 if you want angsty teenager. But
Hello. Excuse me. There. Much better. Each and every one of you has chosen a particular path that will determine your responsibilities once we have arrived on Nexus. It is important that you are well informed of the imminent dangers associated with this choice, despite the fact that few of you will actually survive them. Let us proceed. Soldiers, legendary heroes in the making. Your mission will be to conquer the deadly creatures, hostile natives, and military opponents you encounter on the planet's surface. Will there be glory for some of you? Indeed. For others. Scientists, for you, knowledge is the ultimate weapon. As you delve into the scientific mysteries of the Elden, you will systematically analyze the exotic flora and fauna found on the planet. Unfortunately, most of it will be trying to eat you. At least your deaths will be for a noble cause. Explorers, such a bold and adventurous group. Prepare yourselves to to chart this wild new frontier, braving some of the most dangerous and inaccessible locations on planet Nexus. Undoubtedly, you think this sounds exciting. Please provide your next of kin before departure. And settlers, dedicated builders and pioneers, your duty is to tame this hostile alien world, constructing beneficial structures for your friends and allies. Understandably, your enemies may not appreciate your efforts. Oh, that was unfortunate. So, as you can see, the choice of your path brings with it a number of challenges. Fortunately for those of you who are looking for a way out, I have a different alternative. Any takers?